All right, next. A gifted marketer, our next honoree is known for his creativity in aligning the station's brand and resources to serve the needs of the community. He's also invested significant time and effort mentoring staff to help shape and impact their careers. I'd like to share a telling statement from one of his recommendation letters. It goes like this. A lot of people in broadcasting have careers because Jim Byrne gave them a chance. Jim, you are tonight's first Silver Circle inductee, and I believe the first from WDCW. So here we go.
Jim Byrne was born in Washington, D.C., and grew up in Silver Spring. As a young boy, Jim made countless appearances on local D.C. kids programs. He would don his cowboy hat and boots to appear on Channel 7's Pick Temple's Giant Ranch show. He was also on WTTG's Captain Tug show on several occasions. He was mesmerized by all the elements of productions and live TV. He knew he wanted to work in television. Jim's first job came in Southwest Virginia at WCYB-TV in Bristol. Jim served as an anchor, reporter, weatherman, sports anchor, morning talk show host, cameraman, editor, promo producer, and more. After deciding to focus on marketing and local programming, Jim moved to Boston, where he worked for 20 years. Jim was the public relations manager for several years at WCVB-TV, the Hearst-owned ABC affiliate which the New York Times deemed the nation's best local station. In 1990, when the Boston Celtics purchased Fox-owned WFXT, Jim joined that station as Programming and Creative Services Director. Jim had the opportunity to build the station from scratch and oversee the production of local sports, kids, documentary, news, and entertainment programming. Jim won several Emmy and National Association of Television Programming Executives Iris Awards. In 1999, Fox 25 won the National Gabriel Award for Outstanding Station of the Year for excellence in local programming, public service, and news. Jim returned to Washington in 2000 when he joined WDCW-TV Washington CW Tribune as Programming and Creative Services Director. Under his direction, DCW-50 was among the CW's highest-rated affiliates. Jim's proudest personal achievement was the creation of DCW-50's Living Black History documentary series from 2011 to 2020. These programs were eventually broadcast on other local Tribune stations across the country. Their campaign won 4 local Emmy Awards, 3 first-place Best Documentary Awards from the National Association of Black Journalists, and a National Gracie Award from the Alliance for Women in Media. As the Director of Public Relations and Community Affairs for DC News Now since 2022, Jim works closely with local community-based organizations. He also oversees the station's on-site monthly promotional and community-based events.
You are a winner, my friend, and that's not only because of your long, distinguished career, and it's because of your loving wife, your wonderful kids, and your beautiful grandchild.
Over the years, he has become an icon in the broadcast industry, a beacon of success, professionalism, and kindness. And he's made lots of people better along the way.
For more than 20 years, you've been my inspiration, my mentor. You've watched me grow as a professional. You've been my work dad. Thank you so much for your contribution to the industry, but most importantly, thank you for your friendship.
You've been a good friend to me for so many years. 10 years we worked together at News Plus. You got me a one-on-one interview with Aretha Franklin. What more can I say?
I can't believe we made 10 documentaries together. Congratulations on your Silver Circle Award.
Do you want me to take your paper? I'll put that up.
Oh, thank you.
Have them already?
Got my knee replaced.
I know. All right, so first I'm going to don you with this.
Very good. Okay, well, I love that musical act tonight, and I am happy, very happy. My friend, Fran Murphy, excuse me. My voice is also gone in addition to my knee. But so Fran called me like about 6 weeks ago, and she said, I think you're going to be one of the Silver Circle people. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. I'm thrilled. I did say so because I knew I was having this knee surgery on October 14th. So I said to Fran, so that ceremony's in December, right? And she said, no, I think it's in October. And I said, well, it's the first part of October, right? And she said, no, I think it's mid-October. So anyway, I did say to Fran, I said this to her, well, Fran, if I have to crawl from Olney to Baltimore, I will be there that night, and here I am. So, you know, one of the things I've seen another person's tape, and there's this thing about when we were young that we were crazy about television. And I do want to tell one story that didn't fit in my 2.5 minutes, but I think in some ways I might qualify for a gold award, but because I was one of those kids that would call TV stations and I would call radio stations. And they were always, always very, very nice to me. So the other thing that I can admit to this crowd, because you'll understand, every Tuesday after school, I would walk to Kemp Mill, to People's Drugstore, to get the TV guide for next week. It came out on Tuesdays. So I could look at, you know, what Wild Wild West was going to be about, and, you know, who the guests on Mike Douglas were going to be, and stuff like that. And I could also see what movies Channel 5 would play, you know, on weekends and during the day at the time. And I think it was the spring of 1968. Channel 5 ran a movie like at 10 in the morning or noon or something. And I saw in the TV guide that they were running the Bonnie Parker story on like a Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And I thought, well, that's crazy. Why would they run that there? I mean, nobody's going to get to see it. Bonnie and Clyde is the biggest movie now out, and it's nominated for 10 Academy Awards, and everybody would love to see the original Bonnie Parker story, which came out in 1958, and it's really awful, by the way. But anyway, so I called Channel 5, and I got a hold of the program director, because I spoke to him several times. Again, he was very nice. And I said, you know, you've got the Bonnie Parker story on a Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Why don't you put it on your Saturday afternoon or your Sunday at 1 o'clock? That way everybody can see it. And he said, oh, that's an interesting idea. So anyway, I said, good, well, do it and make sure you promote it too. So he said, okay, we'll see. So of course, the next Tuesday, and then the next Tuesday, and then the third Tuesday, I went and there was the Bonnie Parker story on Sunday at 1 o'clock. So that was my first consulting program. I had paced myself to be like the third or fourth person to come up here tonight. So I'm a little bit, I think I'm ready. But one of the things is I did have my knee replaced on Monday, and I have written a speech numerous times, but I've been kind of under this haze of painkillers. And I looked at it this morning and I thought, what am I talking about? And it's also 5 pages long. So anyway, I wrote this up quickly, and I haven't even done it yet. So please bear with me. But I am the first person from DCW 50 to receive this award, and I think it represents the work I've done between 2000 and present. And I'm very, very happy about that, very proud of that. But really, as everybody knows, this is not a one-person thing. There was a team of people at DCW 50, 32 people, and they really put their heart and soul into building DCW 50 into a competitive and viable television station in the Washington, D.C. market. So my first thank you, and I've got a couple, is to Jerry Martin, who when I was in Boston, I knew him. He was in Hartford, Connecticut, and he had moved to Washington, and he recruited me and hired me and brought me home to Washington, D.C., which I was thrilled about. I was very fortunate to work in the Boston market, and I have to edit this as I go along. I talk about the two television stations I worked at, but I did work at one other television station, and that's where I met my wife. So something pretty important happened there. We had our 41st wedding anniversary on Tuesday this week. So, this hasn't been the best of weeks for her, bringing me up soup and all this kind of stuff, but I'll make up for it. But anyway, the Boston market, I was so unusually fortunate to work at two of the television stations I worked at and three of the companies, because I worked for extraordinary broadcasters and exceptional TV owners. I worked for Hearst Broadcasting, CVB in Boston, and then the Boston Celtics purchased the Fox affiliate when they were at their peak, and Fox was just growing, and then we went on to be owned by Fox television stations. And each of those stations really just believed in doing everything just the best they could possibly do it. And it was very inspiring to me. So I came to Washington. And that was a challenge because in the early days of DCW 50, we were tasked with building a local television station without the benefit of a newscast. We didn't have a newscast. Without the benefit of a studio, without the benefit of any cameras, and without the benefit of a lot of people who did not have production experiences. But over time, we overcame those obstacles, and I think that was one of the best parts of being at our station in the early days, is we were overcoming obstacles and we were making things happen. For example, we had to do a public affairs show. I was responsible for that. And we didn't have a studio, I didn't have a host. So I went to a woman I know from when I was on the board of NATAS here in Washington, Joanne Carl, who worked at Montgomery College. And Montgomery College has a terrific studio, so always looking for free stuff. So, so we did our public affairs show at Montgomery College, and it gave these kids a chance to work, in a major market on a public affairs show, and it was a great experience for them. It was very helpful to me, and so that was that's just an example of some of the things we've had to overcome. But with time, things continue to just get better and better. And after Jerry left to go to Indianapolis, Eric Meyerowitz took over, and I always see him as like a kind of a visionary. And he, he said, we're going to do this together. He had never been a general manager before. And so we, rather than just running promos, we created vignettes about what's going on in the city and what's special about the city and interesting people in the city, and we tied everything in to the television station, and our ratings went up and our CW numbers went up, and everything went very well. And then one of the times when I was out producing a vignette about Chuck Brown Way, when they were dedicating that street, he was talking about the Howard Theater is going to be celebrating 100 years next year. And I just looked at that not decapitated, what's it called? Decrepit, yeah, this decrepit theater. And, but it just had such a spirit to it. And I thought, we've got to do something about that. So I went to Eric and I said, I'd like to produce a Black History special about the Howard Theater. It's going to be 100 years old. This is where Marvin Gaye got started, and Roberta Flack and Moms Mabley. It's just incredible. And Eric said, yes. Just yes. No do a report. No let me call corporate. No nothing. Just yes, do it. And just make sure it doesn't cost much. And that's all right. That's good. That's fine. So anyway, I knew Fran Murphy from the NATAS board, and she came on board as a freelance producer, and we did 10 specials together. Eric loved the specials. We would do them every single year, and we packaged them. And eventually Eric left the station, but then a general manager named Vince Giannini came in from Philadelphia, and he said, like, why are you not sharing these with other Tribune stations? These are like great shows, and they're winning Emmys, and they're winning National Association of Black Broadcasters. They're terrific shows. So, he helped me get them syndicated on the stations across the country to KTLA and WPIX and all these, WGN. And that brought a whole nother element of excitement to it, because we'd work on promotion and publicity and things like that, and all these different markets, and the other stations really liked them. And I really enjoyed the camaraderie I had with the other creative services directors and that. In the meantime, Eric wanted to do more, which was good. That was good. And one time he called me in his office and he said, I think we should do a hip-hop music show, a weekly hip-hop music show. Now, keep in mind, we had 4 people in our department, and we were doing the Black History specials, and we were doing the vignettes, and he never said no to me. He never said no to me about anything, whether it's like when I was asking for more money or anything. So I couldn't say no to him. So I said, sure, we'll do a hip-hop show. And I went back to my office, and I Googled what hip-hop music is. So, wow, okay, we'll do that. So from that came Direct Access from Big Tigger, and one of our promotion producers oversaw the production of that. She won 2 local Emmy Awards and several other awards. And all this stuff really got people excited, and it really got their spirit into what we were doing. And, it just went on from there. We had a sports show with LeVar Arrington, and, when I see this tape and read my biography, and I think about all this stuff, I think, how in the world did I do that? I don't know, because, but we did, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So I do want to thank Eric and Vince and all the people, some of whom you saw in the video. Fran is here tonight. I'm sure I drove her crazy. I think at some point Susan told me to stop calling her at 3:30 in the morning, but she did say I could text you, so that's why your phone would bling every now and then. And in the meantime, we were also in addition to all the local programming, we had at least one major event every single month, and we had the most popular America's Next Top Model auditions, which were exhausting and filled with all kinds of drama. And then we also had a fashion, beauty, and lifestyle expo every year. It was all good. And it still is good. We have, Nexstar has come in and they've purchased our station, and it's yet another challenge. And challenges are really the best thing about television, and sometimes they don't happen right away. Sometimes it takes long, but if you have that spirit, you have everything, and I think we have that spirit. We continue to have that spirit. I'm very proud of everything I continue to do, not just with DCW 50, but also WDVM, which is DC News Now, and I appreciate Emily Kurtz and all the positivity and the light that she brings to her job, and keeping us all stimulated and ready to push on. As I mentioned, I said I would do anything to be here tonight, and I really meant it, because I have this weird thing about the Washington, D.C. Emmy Awards. Early on, I would get nominated for Emmys, and I would come here all excited, and I would think, there's no way that I'm going to lose. Well, every time I came, I lost. And then the first time I won, I think we had to go out of town or something, and I thought, oh, wow, wow, that's good. It's too bad I wasn't there. So then I'd go back and I'd lose. So then eventually it just came to, I've won like 7 Emmy Awards in Washington. I haven't been there for any of them except for this, and that's why I made sure that I'm here, because I wanted to be here for this. So thank you, and thank you to all my colleagues from DC News Now. I didn't know you were here. Shanika, I didn't know you were here. You got to come over to our table. But anyway, thank you so much. This is really a great moment. Thank you.